Well, I'm here with Matt Boyle from Australia. Hi, Matt. You're talking from the Sunshine Coast. That sounds really fantastic.
Oh, it's
Whereabouts is
it's
it?
it's beautiful. Thanks for having us. So, yeah, the Sunshine Coast is on the east coast of Australia, about an hour's north of Brisbane. Or most people know where kind of Sydney is and can picture the
Hmm.
map of Australia. If you draw a line between those 2 points, about halfway between there, you'll see a little place called the Sunshine Coast. So it's
That
beautiful.
sounds fantastic. And we're going to talk about sales, and which is actually your profile. Originally, you were working in the automotive industry, wasn't you?
Yeah, so I've been a salesman my whole career. I was one of the kids in high school that I was the first to get my driver's license. So I would run out at lunchtime and go buy half a dozen pizzas from the local pizza store and go sell them for $4 a slice to my classmates at there. So I've always been involved in sales.
That's good. And after a while, you decided to change your life and career. How did it happen?
Yeah, so there's a few kind of evolutions through there. So I was, as you said before, I was in the automotive industry, and way back in about 2006, sort of late 2006, early 2007, I was just started to notice that how people were making purchase decisions was changing. That the internet was starting to do things, and the dealership that I was working at the time was very system driven and had a very
Hmm.
systematic approach to how to sell, and that's what made them one of the most profitable groups in the country. So, and then the internet was sort of changing that system. So, I locked myself in an office and figured out how to adapt our sales process to suit
Uh-huh.
the internet. So that was kind of the first evolution through there, and I was able to leverage that into quite a large sales training organization. We had built offices around Australia, and we had about 65 dealerships that we were working with, and over
Hmm.
sort of 5 or 6 years, trained about 3,000 salespeople in our methodology over the internet, which was massively profitable, but it was
Yeah.
also horribly unfulfilling because what makes the internet sales really effective is spending a lot of time doing repetitive tasks, responding to
Yeah.
emails, doing follow up with prospects, booking appointments over the phone, and photographing cars, and all this kind of repetitive stuff that goes out there. And most salespeople by nature aren't good at the repetitive stuff. They want to
Uh,
go
uh,
hunt, kill, conquer, take over the world. They want to be, closing deals and doing the
uh,
doing the fun stuff. They don't want to be doing the discipline beforehand. So even though from a financial point of view the business was very profitable, there was
mhm.
that empty hole that knowing that that no one that I was training actually really wanted our help, and no one was actually going to really use the systems. As soon as we disappeared, they would go
Mhm.
back to their old habits and wouldn't actually get the return. So that left
Mhm.
that big chasm, really just unfulfilled.
Yeah. Well, that's very interesting what you say about the way that sales has changed and with the car dealerships. That was 10 years ago, something like that. And so, what's the situation now? Do you think that buying a car from a car dealership is something that will go forever?
Oh, absolutely, because in any sales you've got kind of three levels of trust that you need to overcome. The first of all, that you need to build trust in the brand. So that's in dealerships, that's in Mercedes or Mazda or whatever. You need to build trust in there, and that can be done online, very easily. Second thing is you need to build trust in the person or the process. So if it's a online ordering system, you need to have trust in that. And again, that can be overcome. The third level of trust, which is always going to need a gentle hand and someone involved in the process, is you need to build trust in yourself. And when you're making any major purchase decision, you've always got this level of fear and insecurity when you're coming up towards it. So, you need someone at that point in time to be able to hold your hand, guide you through the process, and help you build that extra sort of level of confidence and reassurance that you're doing the right thing. So, because of that, I can't see, I can't see a scenario that you're not going to need to have some interaction with a salesperson of some sorts. Now that said, the role of the salesperson has shifted massively
Sure.
over that journey, and it's now more, much more important to have a customer centric approach. Have something that you're, genuinely curious about the
Hmm.
person you're talking to. You have that genuine sort of desire to help and to serve them. Where previously, what you needed to have was you needed to have good product knowledge, because you
Hmm.
used to be able to use your product knowledge as the way of building that confidence and building that trust. Where these days, it's very easy to go find out everything you need to know about anything online through researchers and that. So we're no longer the product authority anymore. So there's a big shift that's happened and will continue to evolve, but it's never going to replace the need for having a human interaction as a critical sort of part in the sales process.
And talking of which, you made a decision right after that experiment with online sales, which led you to something else in Thailand.
Yeah, so I happened to met another Australian guy that worked over in Thailand with the Thai immigration police, and he was involved in anti-human trafficking. So he was rescuing kids out of some horrible situations, and women out of some horrible situations that they'd been forced into prostitution, they'd been sort of forced into slavery, and these horrible scenarios. And we got talking, and the more he kind of shared the stories about what he was seeing and what he was doing, the more it kind of opened my heartstrings. So it took a while, but I eventually convinced him to take me over to Thailand so I could see with my own eyes what him and his team were doing. And I spent 3 weeks working with them on the front lines, involved in doing some of these rescues and looking at this sort of travesty on the front line. And I'm a father of 6, and at the time, my kids were about 13 down to about 5, and I'm walking around the streets and I'm seeing kids, that are the same age as mine, being forced into prostitution and forced in these situations that no
Mm.
kid should ever be in. And as I'm kind of going through that, and we involved in all these rescues, I kept talking to the people and just asking about their story. And it wasn't from a place of judgment or anything. It was just that genuine understanding to go, I've grown up in a pretty privileged environment. We've never had a need or anything like that. And going, how could you end up in this situation where we're here? Like,
Mm.
what's kind of led you to being here? And the stories were almost identical, that they needed money, and because they needed money, they got taken advantage of. They got promised jobs that didn't exist. Someone lent them money that they shouldn't have, or they started taking a job that they knew shouldn't, and it escalated through. But it was this thing that every single person that was in that situation was, had their desperation and their need for money exploited. And now they were in these situations where, just no one ever wants to be in. So when I got back to Australia, I'm sitting here and I've got this massively profitable business where I'm making, really, really good income. I'm in the top 1%. It's going, this is amazing, but it's also horribly unfulfilling. And then my heartstrings have opened up to this. So I kind of just went through this evolution of how can I make an impact. And so we started donating money, because you need money to buy the freedom in many cases, and pay back the loans and all this kind of stuff. So I just started donating the money, and that got to the point where my wife's tapping me on the shoulder and said, "Oh, Matt, you've actually given away this month's mortgage payment. You need to ring the bank and say we're going to be late because we can't pay the mortgage this month." And then, so she's going, "I love what you're doing, but we've got to make this more sustainable. We're a family of 8, that you can't let us go without because of making a difference. So you've got to figure something out. So that running in the back of my head, and then I'm sitting in this boardroom training, training this group of salespeople and calculating how much this training day had cost the company, and knowing that these salespeople weren't actually going to do the stuff that I was training on doing. It was kind of that light bulb moment switched on, and when all of these people over in Thailand got exploited because they needed a job. So if I could create jobs for them and become an employer and an ethical employer that's given them great opportunities, then they're not going to need to go down this path down there. Mm-hmm. So that went, oh, okay, that's how I can make an impact. And then I went, well, all of the stuff that I'm training businesses on how to do that they're not doing, if I can figure out how to automate it and outsource it, create systems that can be done to the right standard and it can be done just as effectively as if someone was doing it in the flesh, then businesses, instead of paying me to train their teams for their team not to do it, they can pay me to build this system, and I can go build a system and build a team and do it. And the businesses are actually going to make more money because all the stuff's going to happen at a higher frequency, at a higher standard, more consistently. So the businesses are going to make more money. They're going to increase their sales. And at the same time, I can go create jobs in the regions that I want to create, so I can actually fulfill my soul and fulfill the sort of purpose that I've got on earth of trying to make an impact over here by creating jobs. And so it happened to be we tripped on this model of this sustainable type of business, which is, the more impact we have and the more jobs we create and the more people we employ and save from these situations, the more profit we make. And the more profit we make, the more clients we help, and the more clients we help, the more profit they make. And the more profit they make, the more jobs we create. So it's this cycle that absolutely everyone in the process benefits from it, that, we go to businesses these days, and instead of saying, here, donate money to our cause, it is we sit there and go, here, give us $5,000 and we're going to give you $20,000 back. So it makes it very easy from a business point of view to go, oh, yeah, I want to invest in that because there's a fixed return in a fixed timeline. And then I say, oh, and by the way, that $5,000 is actually going towards creating jobs, and here's our mission, and here's what we're actually really about. So they then have the feel-good factor as the bonus level where, when I was doing a lot of research into different charities and different not-for-profits and all that kind of stuff, a lot of their issues, around their sustainability came on the fact that they relied on donations. So in good economic times, it was easy to get donations, but as soon as then times become tougher, budgets got cut back, and then their ability to be able to impact people and do the work that they need to do was dramatically impacted because they lost their income source. So, by accident, I found this model that works on so many different levels, and it happens to be a very profitable business. It happens to be a very strong value proposition for clients because we're helping them with the issues that really affect them, and it happens to be a very strong impact center that we can create jobs and improve communities and all of that kind of stuff. So it's it's this great scenario.
So how many jobs did you create?
So at the moment, we're still nowhere near where I want to be. My goal by 2030 is to have 10,000 jobs created. At the moment, we've got one centre operational. So at the moment, we're sort of miles away from that goal. But I'm looking at things very much on that kind of J-curve level of growth, that we've done a lot of the hard work over the last couple of years in building the sustainability into our product and making sure that what we give to clients actually delivers the results. And we work with some pretty complex sales processes, from franchise sales to hedge funds seeking investments to logistics companies with a sort of a multi-million-dollar enterprise solution, right down into sort of, consulting programs and all that kind of stuff. So we've had to really build that sustainability into the business model to make sure the quality of the product actually delivered. And that's, as anyone in sales would kind of relate to, that's a lot easier said than done. But to be able to do it is good. So we've built that. We've built the management structure in place. So we're just kind of at that precipice now of being able to duplicate what we're doing and then duplicate and duplicate and duplicate. So, we're hopefully over the next couple of years, we'll be on quite a good growth curve and be able to sort of start getting a lot closer towards that end goal.
So your center currently is in the Philippines, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. So we've got one in the Philippines at the moment, and we're in the planning phase at the moment of launching our second center in Thailand, which was supposed to be in 2021, was on the original plan, but COVID kind of put that on the put that on the back burner and caused some chaos as it did for everyone else. So we've had to sort of push that out to 2023.
And these BPO centers, are they working for Australian companies or
the majority of our clients are based in the US or the UK. It just happens to be that's where the majority of them. We do have a few Australian based clients, but our centre works in sort of 3 shifts. You've got the morning shift, the afternoon shift, and the evening shift. So we've actually got time zones for all three, all 3 time zones. And the systems we've built all run non-voice campaigns, so we don't do any telemarketing out of our thing. So everything we do is using different levels of technology, from voicemail drops to SMSs to emails to LinkedIn messages to Facebook messages, and even lumpy mail, and actually sending physical mail in the post from there. And then everything that comes from a voice campaign, we either we'll work with our clients and either get them to do that in a webinar type of format, or we'll direct them into appointments and all that kind of stuff. Because one of the things that was really important to me was being able to quality control the outreach and the messaging, and make sure that our clients were positioned effectively in the marketplace. And if you look at, say, a hedge fund trying to target investors and try to get $1 million investment from them, you're not going to get someone in the Philippines or Thailand on the phone being able to call one of those people and have any results. So I wanted to build the systems that set things up for success, rather than just take the easy route and go here, let's just do a bad job with telemarketing, which is what so many people do.
Okay. And how are you training these people in the Philippines or Thailand?
So we have everything that we do is very, very process driven. So we use our project management tool that every task that they need to do is documented in that. So we make it really kind of simple for them. So we break it down into log into this, open this, that. So we make it really, really easy for them. Every one of those tasks, when we're setting up a new project, we actually spend the time to create training videos and walkthrough videos on how to do it. So as they're going through, they can actually go in and watch every task when they do it. We then have a weekly training session, which is team building and team training that we sit there and do. We've also got in our management structure, we've got team leaders and team trainers and all that kind of stuff. So they're focused on the benchmark. So every one of our campaigns, we have a series of performance benchmarks. So how many activities and what's the expected results out of those activities that they're managing their results against that daily. And if they're behind any of those activities, that's when trainers will get involved, team leaders will get involved, and we'll look, is it something that they're doing? Because sometimes it's a skill error, sometimes it's actually a system error, sometimes it's a messaging error. So that's where we kind of combine our performance management in with our training through from that. And we let the numbers of our campaigns dictate where we need to kind of focus our attention, and is it a training and skill area, or is it sometimes we need to go back and change the messaging, change the call to action, or change the process to in order to be able to deliver on those outcomes.
And from your own perspective, I mean, are you running this business from Australia, or are you going there every now and then?
Yeah, look, I go over every now and again, but we have a really great leadership team in place that we've built over the last couple of years. So we've got a really strong operations manager and really strong sort of team leaders. So it's now at the point that I don't need to go over for the day-to-day operations anymore. I can manage that remotely. I can manage that through Slack and through video and through those kind of feedback loops through there. It's only really when we have major hires or we're doing sort of some major growth or investment is when I really need to get over there now.
Uh-huh. And I suppose COVID has struck quite heavily in Australia, so it's been a bit of a burden for you when you launched this project, wasn't it?
Well, no travel made it very hard. Australia did a hard lockdown on our borders and in and out, so it certainly added some complication to what we're doing, and it sort of certainly had some disruption. It was one of those things. If COVID hit 6 months earlier, it
Hmm.
would have been absolutely catastrophic for us, and we would have more than likely have folded um, from there. So the timing was actually quite reasonable for us because we just put some good leadership in place, and we just started to build that kind of structure around, which meant
Hmm.
that we just had to step up as a team. We had to sort of really, trust the team on the ground to be able to do it. We had to make sure our communication was a lot clearer. Um, and the team were amazing. There was a period of about 4 months over there where in the Philippines they had a very hard lockdown, as we all did around the world. But
Hmm.
um, difference in developing type of countries is it's enforced a lot differently. So we gave all of our team the options of work from home if you can, and we'll set you up in a workstation. Go home to the province and be with your family. Use your holiday leave and then work unpaid, but we'll guarantee your job as soon as you come back. Or we'll put some temporary accommodation in the office, and you can actually sleep in the office and work in
Hmm.
there. And every single one of our employees either worked from home or worked in the office, and we had about 15 or 20 that lived in the office for about 4 months.
Hmm.
And it was just amazing to watch how they did that, and they were so committed to the clients and so committed to the business. And we as an organisation kind of made sure that they were really set up, and we made it as kind of fun and rewarding as we can for them. But it just blew me away how they sort of reacted, and they stood up and they wanted to do it, and it was all had nothing to do with themselves or their greed. It was all to do with the business, the mission, the clients, and that was really kind of selfless how they come across. So it was massively inspiring for me as the leader to go, well, if that's how committed they are, I've got to make sure that this is going to keep working. So, it really kind of motivated me and inspired me to double down on what we're doing to, really to make sure that they had the work and we had the income to be able to keep them on the books and keep them employed, which thankfully we're able to grow quite substantially through that period.
It's a fascinating story. What are your plans for the future now? Are there any other countries that you would like to explore? Maybe in Africa or somewhere?
Look, the Africa is one of those places where it's just as needed. There's places through Eastern Europe that's needed. Other areas throughout Asia, so the model we've created can be dropped in anywhere in the world.
Hmm.
So at the moment, even though we haven't got fixed plans beyond kind of our next center at the moment, our kind of goal is to be able to duplicate what we're doing to then see how we can continue to duplicate it. But the global vision has always been to be able to take these centers and put them in any regions where exploitation happens. We can build these centers and be able to create jobs and educate and improve that
Hmm.
community through that. So, that's all will be crystallized over the over the future, we've got a long time to live out the life's mission. So we're not in a hurry to make any, not in a hurry to kind of grow too quickly and fail, because we've been there, done that, and in this sort of journey, we had that period where we've made it all back now, but in part of the transition, we actually lost our house and lost everything, and went financially through a financial meltdown, because I didn't calculate how much it would actually cost to do this and get it to operational. So we've been there and done that once. So we're taking a very pragmatic and disciplined approach, because we haven't received $1 of investment in anything we've done. We haven't received $1 in donation or government grants. 100% of what we've done has come out of cash flow and come out of our own kind of personal savings, which when you lose your house and you lose everything, you don't have any savings left at that point in time. So it's come 100% out of cash flow to this point, and that's something that we're quite passionate about sort of maintaining as long as we can, because we want to be able to have control, and we want to be able to make sure we can run our business as unprofitably as possible, because we want to make sure we're giving as much money back to the communities and making as much of an impact as we can.
That's a fascinating story. Thank you very much, Matt, and all our best for your future endeavours.
Perfect. Thanks for having us. It's been fun.